Schtick Show. How's it, Shticklers? The Joystick Show is back for our weekly pod where we talk story about the things we've read, watched, or played. You know, the things that bring us joy. Shakas and Mahalos for sticking around. Tonight, we have a very special episode. We are doing a spotlight of two guys that reached out on Reddit. I've been loving their stuff. They've got a really fun, just awesome dynamic with their podcast. We got Gage and DJ from Everything But the Cats. How's it going, guys?
Doing good. How are you?
Doing good.
And DJ too. DJ go.
Oh, I'm great. Yeah, right, doing well. Back to what Gage was asking. How are you?
You know, I think I'm doing all right. Yeah, you know, it's just got through this Wednesday. You know, I feel a little sad because we were following along with X-Men 97, and that's not a thing anymore since the season's done. So I feel like a little space has been missing, you know, in my heart. I don't know. Have you guys been watching it?
I have not.
No? Oh, man. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, go for it, DJ.
So I'm caught up. So I watched Zero Marvel for the longest time, but over the course of really COVID, we got caught up. My wife and I did. And I have most of Echo to watch. And so I've not watched X-Men 97 yet, but I'm chomping at it, like very close.
Oh, man. Yeah. I could talk the whole time about X-Men 97 with you guys, so trust me. So we better, I think maybe I should try to steer away from it, but I think it is damn near perfect when it comes to what Marvel has put out in the last, like, post-Endgame. It is phenomenal. Now, one thing I did want to ask you guys about, which is another show that you talked about in one of your episodes. I heard you say that you were enjoying Ted Lasso, one of you. Is that right?
Oh, yeah, yes. Finished it. It's one of my favorite shows of all time.
Likewise, I think over here it is single-handedly got us into like real football and soccer, but like just how nice everybody is, or like how nice Ted is and the humor. I love that show. Now, for you guys, which character would you say you most identify with from Ted Lasso?
Oh gosh, I've had conversations with friends. I think I would like to identify with Beard to some degree.
Okay.
Mostly because I can't grow one. But no, Ted. The trope, I guess, of the holy fool is kind of one that I really want to, in my own way, emulate, I guess.
I like it.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So I haven't seen it like at all. But what I will say
DJ,
is that
come on, man. What are we doing?
I don't know, man. I love soccer and I love funny things. So I don't know how I haven't watched it yet. But what I will say is that Jason Sudeikis, who plays Ted, played basketball for maybe a year at the junior college in Fort Scott, Kansas, where Gage and I are from.
Okay.
So I have also played basketball in Fort Scott, Kansas. Therefore, probably Ted.
Yeah. Therefore you're Jason Sudeikis.
Yeah, like essentially.
Yeah, you and him exactly the same. You might as well be a clone.
So true.
That's incredible. I love it. Yeah, it is a phenomenal show. I can't recommend it enough. Well, actually, what feel-good comedy is at the top of your list then? This is kind of off script for me, but I'm just curious now.
Yeah, no, I would say, right. So we kind of hover between two most of the time. Right now we're watching Modern Family.
Yeah.
And have really enjoyed that. I think we just finished season 8, maybe.
Okay.
So have enjoyed that. And then we just kind of started The Middle. And have been enjoying that. Yeah, it's a bit older, I don't know that it's quite as like hard-hitting funny.
Right.
But it's like comfortable.
Okay. So, yeah, it's definitely middle humor then, if you will. The youth might say, is it mid?
I bet the youth would say it's mid.
Okay. Okay, man, I love those. Those are some off the wall or just like out of left field choices, and I respect that. I like that. Normally people are like The Office or Friends or that kind of stuff. So I respect those choices a lot. I like it. Now, one of the other things I heard from some of your episodes is that you guys are both gamers. Is that right?
Yeah. There's like, we don't do a lot of competitive stuff, or at least I don't. But we've played our fair share of video games. Yeah.
Right on. Okay. Now, what was your first console and what was your favorite game on that console?
Gosh.
I know, making you go way back in the memory banks here.
So mine was a GameCube.
All right.
Nintendo GameCube was my first console. My first game for it was Sonic Heroes.
Nice.
Like every day I want to go back and replay it just for the value. But I'd say the favorite game I had on there, gosh, it probably would have been like Naruto Clash of Ninja 2 or something like that.
Okay.
Because that was my thing around that time.
Were you watching the anime as well? So like you were watching the anime and then you're like, I gotta play it, or
Oh yeah. It's like, it's not so I've watched a lot of anime that is not even in my top 5. But it has a special place in my heart, and like literally, like I'll go back and watch it and I'll cry through most of it because it just like I was a middle schooler when I was watching it first, and it's just got a special place for me.
Yeah, definitely. I know this sounds bad to say, but I really haven't watched all the way through. I've caught episodes here and there. I go to different conventions and everybody's always lining up for like the Naruto Funko Pops and like all the collectibles and everything. And the fan base is still crazy. I got to get into it. DJ, what about you?
Yeah. So I don't know if this was my first console, but I have a distinct memory of, I think, so this is back in the day when you could rent a console.
Oh.
Like you just go to the store, rent a whole console for a day or whatever. And my family had rented an N64.
Okay.
And I have a distinct memory of like my parents are about to go lay down for a nap, and my dad is like, "Do not touch the Nintendo 64."
Yeah.
And then I immediately I hear the first snore and that thing's on.
Yeah.
And I'm maybe 3 years old at this point. Just kind of bopping around on a beach in Majora's Mask.
Nice.
Absolutely useless. Like I'm probably just dying and then like reloading and then dying
Right.
again and again and again until eventually my parents wake up. And so that's like, I think that's my first memory of video games is
wow. That's actually a pretty incredible one though, because like, yeah, I mean, you're talking N64, like if you were around that age, normally people would say GoldenEye, but that's around the time you get the cartridges and you're like blowing on them to try to get them to work. And that was like full LAN party. All your friends are over. You're all doing couch co-op, playing for me, it was GoldenEye on the N64. And then on the GameCube, it was Super Smash Brothers Melee, which we would play so competitively. And me and Scott, that's kind of how we became friends. Like, one, I overheard him talking about X-Men and I slid right in that conversation. I was like, hey, are you guys talking about X-Men? And inserted myself. And then the next thing was, oh, you play games? Sweet. What do you play? He introduced me to Super Smash Brothers Melee on the GameCube. And like the rest is history. We were like great friends after that. So in fact, we would play that game all night. And at the time there was like this MTV show called like True Life. And it was like True Life, I'm a Professional Gamer. Well, there was this guy on there who, I don't remember what his name is, but he would, he called it like STD, which stood for Smash Till Dawn. So we would smash till dawn, play the game, like we would play it all night. Is there any games that you guys would play that you can remember like doing all-nighters for?
I want to interject real quick.
Okay, yeah.
And I feel like, so STD, not stellar. And I was like, surely the actual words are better. And it's Smash Till Dawn.
Yes.
Which is not
yeah, you're right. It can still be used in a pretty dirty way. There's no doubt about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't, you know what? I didn't really even think about it because in my head at this time, it was literally Super Smash Brothers Till Dawn.
For sure.
You know what I mean? But yes.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds terrible for anybody on the outside looking in.
For sure. So my first all-nighter, I don't know, 7 or 8, something like that. And we had a PS2, and I was playing through is strong because I was pretty young. I was just kind of throwing myself at one of the PS1 Spyro games and kind of seeing what would stick? And the answer is not a lot. But somehow I ended up playing it. And like I remember looking outside and the sun is rising, and somehow I did it. So it was one of the Spyro games. I'm not sure which one.
Okay.
But I did that. I didn't do it often. As far as often, I probably like Minecraft, but I don't really like Minecraft enough to explain it being one of those games.
A lot of caveats in there, but I respect it. You could remember back to Spyro, because Spyro was a great game. It was like that, Crash Bandicoot, I feel like, around that time. God, I love that so much. What about you, Gage?
So I didn't do a lot of that up until probably middle school or high school. But I had on my GameCube Medal of Honor Rising Sun. And if I had friends over, we would all play that.
Yeah.
Because it had like kind of like a co-op just map mode, kind of like what Call of Duty's online kind of stemmed from. But you could do it there on the GameCube. And so we would do that for hours against the easy bots. Then Black Ops came around and we would do that. Black Ops was when I was in high school, and it just like, I got it for Christmas. And I remember that game being the only one I really poured a lot of time into playing online. And so I did a lot of that, zombies, multiplayer, and I would do that late into the night pretty consistently.
Yeah, into the wee hours of the morning until the sun came up and you're like, oh my God, I got to get some sleep.
It's real funny because like I wanted to play with friends. I never liked playing alone, but I was terrified of zombies. And not just the Call of Duty game mode, but the concept of zombies terrified me. And so that's all anybody wanted to play at night. And so I had to either swallow my fear and play or go to bed.
Right. Yeah. So what was it? Were you like, okay, I might piss my pants, but here we go. I want to play with my friends. Let's do this.
Kind of, actually. That was kind of it.
Yeah. So it was partially because you wanted to play with your friends and partially because you couldn't sleep after. That's why it was like full all-nighter, because you're like, okay, I can't go to sleep now. I'm too afraid. Which I've been there.
No choice.
I have definitely been there. So yeah, I'm not always the biggest scary movie fan for those reasons as well. But yeah, oh man, those are some great choices. I remember playing both those games. I think for me, it was Super Smash Brothers, and then of course Halo. Did a lot of that. And then around high school, like, no, I never played Madden till dawn, but definitely practiced, you know. So when your friends came over, you could just whoop on them, and you could run with Michael Vick like 40 yards backwards and then throw a 90-yard touchdown. That was, yeah, those were the times, man. Oh, I love those times. Now, let's see. So let's jump into the podcast, because we kind of got a little history. You guys have said you've been friends for a long time, right? Was it middle school? Was it junior high school? When did you guys first meet each other, and when did you guys first become friends?
EJ,
sorry.
No, do you want to tell the story of how we met, or do you want me to?
I mean, I feel like how we met, I can, it's simple.
Okay.
It is nice. Like, it's interesting that you ask it as two separate things, because it really was. And I feel like maybe it is for most people. I mean, I feel like when we met, my first memory of Gage. So Gage just grew up in Fort Scott. Right? Is that accurate? Did you ever live anywhere else?
Yeah, I grew up
until
there.
Recently, since he's like not lived there. But he lived there, and I moved there in 6th grade. And my first memory of Gage is that he's just sitting talking to someone, and he swears up and down that Bigfoot is real because his aunt has seen him, darn it.
Nice.
And like I'm making mental notes of like, who do I want to befriend?
Right.
And stuff like that. Like, I mean, who can I befriend and who do I want to befriend?
Right. There's like sports guy in the corner, there's like skate kid, and then there's Bigfoot guy. And you're like, do I want to be friends with Bigfoot guy? So, okay, where does it go from there?
Well, we weren't friends yet. But I don't know that was my doing. Like, I don't know that I was like, but what
I don't
happens?
Remember that. I swear I do not remember that.
It could have been not you. I just have assumed it was you.
I mean, it probably was, just judging by my history.
Do you just go around preaching Bigfoot? Like, my aunt's seen him, I swear. What's the history here?
My cousin and I could have, and like in hindsight, it was a dog. Like, it was 100% a dog. But my cousin and I were convinced that we set a trap at my aunt's house that Bigfoot set off. And by a trap, what I mean is we took some expired meat, put it in a little hole in the ground, and covered it with like some plywood or something.
Right.
But it wasn't like heavy. It was something that two little like 7-year-olds could pick up and put on top of the hole. And a few hours later, it was gone. So like we were convinced we'd seen Bigfoot, or we'd caught Bigfoot.
Yeah. Man, if you had cameras back then, it would have been a done deal. Exactly. Or if you had some Jack Link's beef jerky, it would have been game over. You would have definitely caught that guy. Oh man, that is fantastic. So how do we get to fast forward? Okay, you guys are friends now at this point. Okay, you're talking middle school, high school, but possibly college. I know that DJ, you are married, I believe. You have a kid now. Congratulations, by the way. Where does everything but the cats now jump in? Where does this whole thing kick off? And my next question with that: are cats not good enough?
So, I have a cat, and she's actually just sitting right next to me. We've decided, DJ is the one who said it first, that it's not so much cats, it's the cats that we don't talk about.
You know the ones.
Yeah.
Okay. What if I did it? Could you explain it a different way?
You know the ones.
Okay. You're gonna know if you do it. Like it's one of those things. It's like blasphemy of the Holy Spirit. You can't question it whether or not you've done it.
Right.
Okay. Here, we'll explain it when you're older.
Got it. Okay. Dang, that day is never gonna come. This is about the only age I'm gonna go. Me and God have a deal. This is it. So, yeah. Okay. All right. I love it. So cats almost are too good. The cats are too good. So you can't
blaspheme the cats. It's not that at all.
No. All right.
Yeah.
Shooting in the dark here, guys. Try.
No. So essentially, I'm really sworn to secrecy on this.
Okay.
But what I will say is that oh man, I feel dirty saying this much. It's based on an old inside joke.
Nice.
Believe it or not.
There you go.
And not like anything I'd be ashamed to say out loud.
Mm-hmm.
Like nothing too weird, nothing inappropriate. But I'm sworn to secrecy.
Fair enough.
So I will say, we've said this on our own podcast a few times. If you find us at my wedding, which is at an undetermined place, at an undetermined time, with an undetermined person. But if you find us, both of us, at my wedding, we will tell you the story in unison.
Wow, that's amazing. I feel like this is some type of like adventure travel story. It's like I feel like Indiana Jones, and like the secret to the name is with you both in the same place at the same time. That's amazing. Knowing my luck, that would never happen. So I love it. More reason for people to go and listen to the podcast so that they can find out, or at least determine what they think the reason is, which I dig. So why start the podcast though? Could have done a bunch of different things. Why even kick this whole adventure off?
So I have wanted to do a podcast for a while now. A few years ago, I got all of the equipment that I thought I would need. And I was like, I want to do a podcast. And at the time, I wanted to do one called The Kitchen Sink, or Everything But, or The Junk Drawer, or something like that.
Got it.
And
I like it. Very clever, all these names. I like it.
It was not clever enough because they were all taken.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm familiar with that.
I wanted to do I wanted to do something along those lines. And what ended up happening is I recorded a couple episodes, where I would just interview people who were passionate about something, about what they're passionate about. And none of those episodes will hopefully ever see the light of day. But then that was when I still lived back in Fort Scott. And then my family all picked up and moved to a place just north of Nashville, Tennessee, a little over a year ago at this point. And I was on the phone with DJ. We had talked about doing something like this. And he said he would become a semi-permanent fixture with me if I wanted to move forward with it. And at this point, I'm not going to do everything but the cats with anyone but DJ. So
nice. Yeah, DJ, what was the turning point for you where you're like, yeah, we got to do this. This is going to be fun.
Yeah. So honestly, I feel like this is maybe going to get a little deep. I don't know. Little personal, but like
I'm ready
for a while. So Gage and I, we go to high school. We become friends in high school, go to high school together, go to college together. We're tight. And then after college, like you lose touch with people, and that's life.
Right. Yeah.
And we had really just kind of grown apart. There was distance between us, and just a lot of that. And then we went to a friend's wedding in Virginia in like June of last year.
Mm-hmm.
And got to just hang out. And he's an old college friend. So it was just a lot of like nostalgia and a lot of really good time together, both between us and with this friend of ours. And I feel like over the course of that weekend or whatever, just spending so much time with Gage and spending like just seeing how refreshing and nice it was to spend time with him.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I gotta if this is an excuse to hang out with my best friend on like a weekly basis, like I might as well do it.
Right. Yeah. So. Oh man, I love that. No, that's beautiful. That's what it's all about. I mean, that's kind of how we started with this show as well. You know, it's like it was COVID. We were all gaming together and chatting. I'm like, why don't we just record this? We say some funny stuff. So here we are, almost 3 years later. But yeah, I love that, guys. And if for any other reason, just to like converse with your friends and just catch up and hang out every week, I think that's an awesome reason to do it. Now, Drake has a really good question. I think that kind of ties into what you were just talking about, which is, your podcast really does like allow for a lot of freedom to conversate about anything without a bunch of restrictions. What inspired this format?
On my end, it's kind of just been flying by the seat of my pants.
Okay. Improvisation.
Like, we wanted to do stuff where we could talk together. Hang out together, ideally be able to invite other people in. And I've never wanted to do something that pigeonholed us. And kind of like DJ said, we want an excuse to hang out. And we love talking about things. We love teaching each other about things. We love playing games. Having other people in the mix of that is also just a blast, especially because like we've had 7 guests on the podcast so far, and all of them have been college friends. Like all of them were guys we met in college that lived with us.
Oh, that's cool.
During at least one of the 4 years that we were there.
Yeah.
And we were, for a portion of that, just right across the hall from each other, which was really fun.
Nice. Yeah. Oh my. Yeah. Cause I listened to one of them you just did. Was your friend something Clark? I want to say that was a fun one. I might be completely misremembering the name, but the last kind of guest you had on. And then you also had an episode where I believe you were questioning DJ on all the different guests. And I was like, wow, I would never be that bold to do that because we've had a few guests on the show now and like, holy crap, I don't know if I would remember who would like what and what was their favorite movies and stuff. I love that you brought them in as well. I thought that was a really fun premise for an episode.
That one only works because the guests are all people that like we've known for years at this point.
Right.
And they have very distinct and different personalities. So that helped a lot in that one. I didn't even think about how that might be because I didn't tell DJ we were doing that. I was just like, hey, this is going to be our first video episode. I have a surprise for you. And he was like, okay. And I said, I want you to come up with your favorites of these categories before we do it. And then showed up and had a quiz for him, I guess. I just didn't think about how he might receive that.
Yeah. Well, that's a good friend to just roll with it too, because you're like, hey, buddy, we're doing this. By the way, good luck. Yeah, I'm gonna record it and put it on the internet for the world to hear. Let's see how this goes. But yeah, no, I found okay. It was the your friend Adam Ward. I listened to that episode. That was awesome.
Yes.
That was awesome. So, right on. So cool. I really dig it, and I think it's a fantastic way to kind of, just keep in touch with people and have some fun. Yeah. DJ, you look like you had some thoughts on it. Do you want to elaborate?
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like as far as kind of the format, at least on my side, it's just that this thing has kind of come into existence. Like the podcast started, and then maybe a couple weeks later, we found out my wife was pregnant. And so I feel like for me, it's just like, I'm looking to put in minimal effort and have a good time.
Right.
And so, like, what is Gage going to come up with? Like, let's do this thing. Or what are we going to come up with together that's going to be minimal effort? Let's do this thing.
Man, you were creating two different babies. Good job.
Thank you. I mean, thank you.
Right. No, that's awesome. Yeah, just I had a neighbor before who used to do like a comedy show, and he had a partner as well, and he was like, I'm the post and he's the dog that runs around the post, and so it sounds like Gage gets to be the post. This is what the episode's going to be about, and then you get to just run wild with it, which is a really fun place to be, I think, for anybody really, but especially on a podcast. That's pretty cool. Now let's see. So how do you select your topics? Because it is such a wide range. It is everything but the cats that you guys know. How do you pick them?
So early on, I texted DJ like the day before we would record. I'd be like, what are we doing tomorrow? Now, like, it's gotten a lot easier. We have people who have given us suggestions.
Sweet.
We just recorded an episode, and I'm in the process of editing an episode that's a mailbag of questions that our friends have sent us. And we got enough questions from friends that we're going to be able to do a couple episodes of that.
Okay. Nice.
When DJ found out he and Angela were pregnant, you can talk about the baby archives.
Sure. Yeah. So when we found out that that's my wife, Angela was pregnant, we knew that in April, we were going to need to have stuff on hand. Because I was going to be unavailable. I didn't know what fatherhood was like, but I assumed I'd be unavailable for a little while.
Right. Which shout out to your episode before this one with Adam, where it was lessons that you would learn as a father. I really enjoyed that episode. So yeah, we'll have to plug that one as well.
Thank you. That was a fun one. Really, really enjoyed recording that episode. But we knew we were going to have to pre-record some things. And so we started doing what we called the baby archives. And essentially it's just one of those shows where people teach things to each other. And so the idea was that each week we would both come ready with a topic, and Gage would teach me about something. I would teach him about something. The first few times we did it, it was all like really kind of dark stuff. And so like different true crime things or whatever. And we were like, maybe we want it to be a little lighter. Right. So we made it a little bit lighter. Okay. And nowadays what it is Gage does research and like puts together just really like a nice high quality introduction. Here's this really cool soccer game. Mm-hmm. And then I spend my 45 minutes to an hour just kind of like summarizing Wikipedia.
Okay. Very nice.
So,
yeah, which is good. You need both, right? Like you need to know if the Wikipedia page is accurate to the deep research. So I think that's great. That's a perfect combo. That's awesome. Right on. Well, okay. So this actually may be a deeper question actually too, but this one also comes from Drake. Is there any topics that you would like to touch on, but don't necessarily know how to approach them?
The cats.
Okay. That makes sense.
I wish.
Yeah. It's still, in the dark for, I think, a lot of people out there. Probably me included. I want to know. I think I kind of get it, but probably don't. So that makes sense. And anything else that you could think of where you're like, man, I really want to talk about that, but how are we going to do it?
So far, from my perspective, at least, anything that we've expressed an interest in doing, we've been able to do.
Nice.
Or that we've expressed an interest in talking about, we've been able to get it off the ground. I really think I would like to get, and I know DJ would as well. I think we would both like to get to interview more of our friends, or just have more of our friends on as we go. We have a list of friends who have said they will do it, and then scheduling just kind of happens sometimes.
Yeah.
But there's not really a lot of topics that I think we want to do that we don't feel like we know how to yet.
That's pretty good.
With bringing video into it, that does add a different dimension.
Oh yeah.
So
I can attest to that. Yeah, it's a whole other ball game. Getting on the YouTubes and the TikToks and all that stuff. It definitely changes up some things, no doubt. But yeah, all right, I like that though. I mean, yeah, now you're gonna get a bunch of like influx from people throwing out some crazy topics. You're like, we can't talk about that, man. That's gonna be like, that's off limits. I don't know if I want to go there, but yeah, you never know. All right, let's see. So that that kind of wraps up most of the questions I have. I have one final funnish question because it's something that we used to do. We used to do this thing called the hypothetical of the week, and Drake used to come in with some crazy hypotheticals. Now, the question that we're going to finalize this podcast with before I give you the floor is, what are your thoughts on teleportation? And what if you knew that they would kill a puppy every time you would teleport? I know, because at first you're like, teleportation sounds great. And then you're like, the puppy part, though, I don't know. I don't know if I could go there.
All right, so here's the thing.
Oh, God. Oh, man.
I think the puppy's a non-issue.
Oh, wow.
And,
because of the
please
cats.
Listen. I think the puppy's a non-issue, and here's why. I think that because of the law of conservation of matter, mass, whatever, right? Maybe because of something else, I don't know. The absolute best that something could do is like take my consciousness and transport it to some clone of me and like kill me. So like I, unless I'm in one of those like bank tubes, but that's not really teleportation, I feel like.
Okay.
So the Prestige.
Yeah.
Like the Prestige. This is exactly like the Prestige. Good call.
Yes.
And so would I do it? Like, I'd think about it, right?
Okay. but that's the point of this question, is to think about it and like, would you do it?
What kind of puppy? That's my question.
We went into all kinds of scenarios when I think we dropped this question a long time. I mean, this is such a throwback episode, but we brought it back up again in like our 100th episode. And I think it was like, would all of a sudden like the breeder market explode? Would it be like puppies that are just found, on the streets? We started going too deep because my initial reaction was like, no, I don't want to do it. But then you're like, teleportation is pretty nice. And it's not transferring your consciousness from like one body to another. It's like you are physically in one place and then your consciousness and physical being is now in another place instantaneously. So yeah, I don't know what kind of puppies, but like I think maybe that's the thing. You don't know. Maybe it takes someone else's puppy. They're like, yeah, I just got this puppy, brought him home from the pet store, and then all of a sudden, boom, puppy's gone, getting murdered, but then you're going to Starbucks without having to jump in your car. I don't know.
So I'm kind of a firm believer that like the reason I would want to be able to teleport is so that I'm not late to stuff. Mostly.
Okay.
Like, so it's easier to get places and I can use my time elsewhere differently. But I also know that like lateness is kind of a trait regardless of how quickly or how slowly you can get somewhere. At least for me, Like you could say, I have to take 5 steps and I'm going to wait till the very last minute to take those 5 steps just because that's my personality.
Right.
And so I'm just kind of like, even if I had teleportation, I would still be late places. I would still wait to the very last minute. It's kind of like if the day was twice as long, I would waste more time.
Yeah. Oh, there's more time for me to be lazy, Gabe. No, I love it. I would have never thought about it from the psychology of your personality aspect. So thank you for going there. I do appreciate that. DJ, I still feel like you're like, I don't care. I'll use it. Transport my brain, transport my thought, whatever. Let's do this.
I just want to say, like, you did specify, right, that it's not just consciousness. It's like not like all that. But that's exactly what the advertisers would say.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Like come buy this machine. It totally won't kill you. So if I knew for sure that it wouldn't kill me,
right,
but it would kill a puppy. That sounds like I'm in it for the puppy.
Yeah. You're like, I'm 100% in, knowing that these puppies are dead. Let's do this.
Oh, teleport 5 feet away, just on repeat.
Yeah. Bleep, 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 bleep. Hopping around. No, go for it. Yeah, you could totally finish your thoughts.
Yeah,
Sorry.
No, sure. I think that there are there's some scenarios where I might consider it, but I would use it mindfully. Of like there are some cultures or like just people that like will make sure to like you're eating hamburger and like you got to thank the cow. Right. and stuff like that, which is, I think that's beautiful. That's cool.
Yeah.
And like, I'll be sure to thank the puppy like every time.
I like it. That's great. Yeah. Talking about Echo, I think there's a message in there for you that you already kind of know. So I think it's perfect. I think it's a perfect place to kind of end with that question, because that was a very thoughtful answer for a ridiculous question. So thank you so much for that, guys. Before we go, where can people find you? Where can they support you? Where can they check out Everything But the Cats?
So we are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, all the normal podcast places, Everything But the Cats. We have a website, everythingbutthecats.com, and social media, Twitter, Instagram, No Cats Pod. We're also now on YouTube with Everything But the Cats. So any of those would be great. Otherwise, I'm not gonna. Our personal information is on most of our stuff, actually, but you can find that out for yourself.
Yeah, perfect. We can link it in the show notes if you want. But yeah, thanks so much for that. I think that's great. Yeah, absolutely. Check out the podcast, guys. Like, yeah, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Yeah, a ton of fun, and can't wait to see what you guys do next. Before we leave, though, there's one thing we ask all of our guests to say, and you could say, you could not say, you could put your own spin on it, whatever you want to do. We just say, thanks for sticking it with us, and you can have the final words.
You want us to say it in unison? Because
sure,
we can try.
Yeah, let's try it in unison. Let's do it.
Now, real quick. So I'm so sorry. What are the exact words that we are saying?
Okay. Thanks for sticking it with us.
Great.
Okay.
Because I was gonna be real embarrassed if I said, and you can have the final words at the end.
Yeah.
No one else did.
Although that would be great. You'd be really good at Simon Says. Or you must be really good at Simon Says. Yeah, whenever you guys are ready, take it away.
3, 2, 1. Thanks for sticking it with us.
All right. Thank you, guys. Aloha.
The Joystick Show.
If you've enjoyed what you've been listening to, we'd really appreciate a follow, subscribe, and a review. Just how we like chatting with our friends, please share this with yours. Feel free to join the squad and follow us at JoyStickShow Joystick Show on Twitter and Instagram, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. And if you feel like submitting topics or questions to be discussed on future episodes, you can email us at joystick.show@gmail.com. As always, thank you, peace out, and make it a great rest of your week.